Hey, welcome to this week's episode of This Week in My Garden. Still not a whole lot happening. My peppers are still growing. Bell peppers are putting on a lot of fruit, and some of my other peppers are beginning to fruit. My tomatoes are still fruiting, blooming, and fruiting nicely. But they're not ripe yet, so we're going to hold off on that. Going to put up the rest of the garden shade today and work on a little irrigation project. So let's get to the garden. Those of you who followed my garden last year know that I had tomatoes planted in this bed, and we had shade cloth mounted over it. I left the hardware on the side, so I'm just going to remove that hardware and we're going to reposition it on the other beds. All right, we've got the frame up. Now this one was built for a different spot. It was a little more level, so I've had to shorten this one down a little bit to make it fit. And also it was made to work on a 4-foot wide bed, whereas this is a 3-foot wide bed, so I had to come in here and finagle the fittings. I'm not sure if this is going to work. I'm not real happy with it, but we're going to give it a try. And we got the cloth on. Tiff came out and helped me. She's not real fond of being on camera, so she doesn't like me to film her, or record her, I should say, when we're doing these things. So, got this up here nice. It's all secured, providing shade from my tomatoes. I think I misspoke the other day. This is a 40% garden shade. So blocks out 40% of the sun rays, but it still gives plenty of sun for them to get their photosynthesis. And like I said, if it rains, it can drip through. So all my tomatoes are now covered. I've got another small piece of cloth coming that I'm going to put on this edge down here to help more towards the late afternoon. There they are. I was going to let these two just hang out over here. We're going to see what happens with these without any kind of shade whatsoever. Hello, mister. Alright, there's my cherry tomatoes. They're doing real good. A lot of green tomatoes. Nothing ripe yet. I was just noticing, even though I said we weren't getting any ox hearts, there's an ox heart, and there's another ox heart. So the ox hearts are beginning to fruit. The red celebrities still aren't putting on anything, and the lemon boys are starting to get loaded up. I think I counted like 10 tomatoes on here that are in the process of ripening, so that's good. Just Papa Color Corner is putting on some color. And outside the gate here, this lily she's had out here for, I don't know, 10 years maybe. It's looking really good. It was pretty this morning. All the blooms were opened up, but it's kind of withering in the sun right now. Got a couple more hanging baskets. They'll go on this fence like the ones on the others did. They're labeled Vincas, V-I-N-C-A, but the cashiers told me they were periwinkles, so yeah. Well, we'll call them periwinkles. That's more fun than Vinca. Black eyed peas are coming along nicely. This one's got some blooms on it, so things are starting to happen here, and it's kind of reaching up this cage. So the black-eyed peas are doing great. The stand of corn needs to be watered, so we'll get on that. The banana peppers are looking good. They're beginning to do cool stuff. There's a pepper right there. You can see there's a couple more right there. The others have blossoms on them, so we're beginning to get progress here. Gonna have to tie this guy up. He's having problems. We'll lean him this way for now. Let him hold up against that. But yeah, this Italian sweet I've had out here for a while. I'm just letting it sit. I want to see what happens when it ripens. I don't know what color it turns, so we're just gonna let it be here until it changes color. My jalapenos doing good. There's one jalapeno and there's another jalapeno. So yeah, good stuff happening here. My bell peppers are just loaded. That one's got a pepper. Now, this is supposed to be a bell pepper, but it obviously is not a bell pepper. Right here in the middle of my bell pepper plants. I'm not sure what I planted there. We'll find out when it starts fruiting better. But there's a bell pepper there. There's a bell pepper on that guy. And a lot of these are putting on small bell peppers. Now, here's the baskets on this side. Looking good. My cucumbers need watered. I was wondering how far I could push one line of irrigation. I think I figured it out. I had this cucumber bed and that pepper bed on this one line, and it was doing just fine. I added that pepper bed onto the same line, and now that one's getting good water. This one's getting some water, and this one's getting none, which is confusing because this is the front of the line. So I would think if there was an issue with enough water, I wouldn't get it. I would get some in this bed, then get some in that bed, and wouldn't get any in that bed. So I've got to figure out what's going on. While I was running all this, I was watching this, and we had a honeybee floating around our cucumber blossoms. So that was exciting because we didn't see any honeybees last year. We're seeing honeybees this year. So I'm real excited about that. And I didn't think anything was happening on my cucumbers. But as I'm sitting here talking to you guys, we have a cucumber. And over here, we have a cucumber right there. And over here in the pickling department, we have a pickling cucumber. And I don't know if you can see it, but over there on the other side, I'll scooch in here, there's another pickling cucumber right there. So we are getting cucumbers. Excellent. I'm going to water these guys manually because they need a drink. And until I can figure out this irrigation system here, I'm gonna have to water these guys by hand. So I'll put some water right down the middle of these guys to keep the water off the leaves and try not to splash anything. But cucumbers, I got 4 cucumbers on the vine. How exciting is that? Well, that's what's happening in my garden this week, and it is a scorcher out here today. Okay, not a scorcher. It's only 89 degrees, but man, it feels hot. So, thanks for joining me this week in my garden, and I'll see you next week in my garden.